Sounds Sounds great. Sounds great. So, hello everyone. My name is Mihir Nanavati. I'm the president of Rollworks. Rollworks is an account-based platform that's supporting the needs of B2B marketers and B2B sales leaders drive their revenue. We have been in business for the last 5 years. Before that, we were part of a parent company called AdRoll, which has now been rebranded to NextRoll. Our heritage is in display advertising, but we've now built a proper account-based platform with a data foundation that supports various needs for B2B marketers and B2B sales professionals. Rollworks is solely focused on the needs of B2B go-to-market specialists. My background is in product leadership. I've been what I would call now a veteran in product leadership in B2B software for many years and 25 plus years now. In the last year and a half, I've now taken on the responsibility to run this business. And it's been a fascinating journey. But yeah, I'm excited to share more from a product-centric lens, what an account-based platform can offer for sales and marketing professionals.
Love that, Mihir. Well, thank you. Love that you have a product background as well, because that is not my sweet spot. I believe Erik came from the other side of the house as well. Erik, do you want to give your background a little bit so we could people could have some context in terms of you, even though I know a lot about you, but I'd love to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Erik Kostelnik, founder and CEO of Postal, started this business about 4 years ago. The ideation of the business actually came about 15 years ago, believe it or not, after I was an individual contributor and then moved myself into leadership and eventually, growing high power, high growth sales teams in Silicon Valley, and then starting my own businesses as an entrepreneur. And so a lot of what I was doing was creating experiences that were a little bit different from my competitors. And that included writing direct mail notes and sending items through the good old snail mail, and found out that ultimately there was no system that really was focused on the technology, the automation, the personalization, and connecting all the systems together to really systemize this direct mail channel, or what we call offline engagement. And so last 4 years, we've been working on Postal. Postal is now recognized as the leader in the space. Being 36 months in market and having over 500 customers has been great. We've learned from customers like Rollworks as well onto how to service the ABM market. And now I think the thing that's really interesting, as ABM has really been everyone's always been doing ABM, right? It's just targeted accounts. But now that there's a systemized approach to it, not only can you start using systems like Rollworks to direct advertise and create intent signals, but you can also include a ABM strategy on the offline through Postal with the integrations and the systemized approach with the data that you get from these systems of intelligence like Rollworks. So we're super excited to service our marketing community and happy to get into kind of the nuts and bolts of where we seek success with our customers there.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited to moderate too, because I get the best of both worlds. I get to hear how you both break this down, and I'm a big believer of what you're both doing with your products and your solutions, because I'm a 25-year B2B veteran myself, so understand the need for it and how responsive the market is to it. So let's get into Q&A real quick. So given the economic climate right now and the tighter marketing budgets, how can growth focus marketing and sales leaders effectively leverage data and ABM to increase revenue and shorten sales cycles? Who wants to take it first?
Mihir? I'll let Mihir take it first.
Mihir, yeah, I'll kick it off. Look, I think since we want to leverage data to be more efficient, and efficiency is the name of the game today, the headline for me is tightening the targeting of which customers you want to bring on board. And essentially what it means is that we want to identify the best customers and bring more like them. And so when you unpack, how do you go about identifying the best customers? It's really about examining attributes of the customers that not only are in your CRM system as, for example, in your closed won list, but also these customers that have the highest lifetime value. It really matters that you look at the lifetime value of the best customers of yours, and then build an ICP model off of it, ideal customer profile model off of that. So it may feel that you may see patterns of attributes. You may find that some companies in a certain industry are resonating better or it may be that there's a certain size or a certain revenue band, certain technographics, and so on and so forth. So basically what then you've done is you've created a model, you've created an ICP fit from the best customers. And then once you've identified the good fit, then you want to look for intent signals for companies that may be in market that look similar to these, and then find engagement from visitors on your website who are also similar to this profile that you've built. So now that you've created this sort of zone of the right fit, then you can filter your activities by that. And that's what I mean by tightening the targeting of your marketing activities so that you're getting the most bang for the buck.
I love that.
I totally agree with that too, Ryan. I'll just kind of bounce into it. I think it really depends upon where your company is in its growth stage too. And so when you look at the timeline of business, you have to figure out, where are you at in the stage of your life cycle? And it's going to be different if you are a larger business, obviously, that's trying to pivot or create more focus in a specific ICP, when maybe the majority of your traffic is an SMB client. You're actually trying to go directly into the enterprise business, but you still have a tremendous amount of signal from the SMB business. Or you're a startup and you're just trying to get your name out there. So you have to create action in order to create intent and signals for you to execute on. So I think you really have to understand, where you are in your company's life cycle. If you're in the startup mode, you do have to figure out, hey, what are the systems that I have to put in place in order to create action, meaning that top of the funnel action, building community, building brand advocacy, building traction, trying to create value proposition, and really just building your brand. And you have to do that through all your systems of action, right? Your channels, your email marketing, your phone, your SEO, your social, your advertising, your direct mail, all those channels you have to kind of build. After you've built, and let's say that you're a more advanced organization, as long as you can focus on that specific ICP that Mihir talked about, then you can really figure out, how can I set up these campaigns to align an omni-channel approach based on the signals that I'm getting to execute my plan. And what we see, the best companies use ABM, those that actually use that omni-channel approach and are able to track back to Salesforce campaigns or Marketo or Eloqua or HubSpot campaigns and be able to really see, hey, this is how much money I'm spending. This is the impact of this money that I'm spending. And ultimately, this is the outcome of these new customers. And am I succeeding in this strategy? Am I always measuring, am I succeeding in this new ICP strategy with these actions that I'm taking? And so I think it all kind of comes back to really understanding the three components. And for me, it's always the system of record, which is your CRM systems, your marketing systems, your systems of intelligence, which I put very much Rollworks and other ABM platforms in, that tells you what to do. And then you have your systems of action, which is where Postal and our direct mail category goes and channel. But you also have your email systems, your advertising systems, your social systems that actually push out that content. So I would really figure out how you do that at scale, and it really depends on kind of where you're at from a life cycle standpoint. So
that's a great perspective on both sides of the house. So love how you both frame that up. So moving on to the next question, like if you could only focus on 3 pieces of data, especially since we're talking a lot about data, and when building a customer-centric approach, what would they be and why, right? What would those 3 data points be and why?
Erik, do you go first this time?
I'll go first this time. So the 3 data points. Yeah, I mean, so first off, there's a change we'll talk about now, because 12 months ago, it might have been a little bit different. I think everybody's feeling the pressure around, hey, how do I reduce my cost to acquire a customer and increase my positive unit economics? And so we're all, as founders and as leaders, trying to figure out how to create the best unit economics for a business and focus on those unit economics. And so what we talked about before was very much targeting ICP, right? So it's like, okay, if I have a new business, even though I supported all these different businesses, my target ICP is now the enterprise. then I really have to determine what my unit economics are in that target audience in order for us to execute and continue saying, I'm getting better at this. So the things that we look at are pretty simple, but they're super important to track. The first one is I think everybody is aligned with this, and we align our marketing teams and our sales teams internally on this, and that is the pipeline generated. So we actually don't measure MQLs, MCLs. We actually only measure and comp people based upon SQLs. So that is the pipeline added. So when you look at that pipeline added, then you also have to take a look at what is the cost per opportunity. So we hark on this is the cost per opportunity, and that's not the total cost to acquire a customer. That's just how much did I spend to get this op. And then the final one very much is our close ratio. So we look at our close rate to say, are we able to see that the business that we've built, is this pulling through? And then obviously the time to close is super important as well, but really that close ratio on a monthly basis is something that we really focus on. And when you look at those kind of three components, those become the guiding light for our go-to-market teams. And then everything is structured around those things. And you really can build marketing campaigns and a systematic approach on your outreach and your ABM strategy if you know what you need, how much revenue you need, how much you can spend on that revenue, and then ultimately how much you're going to get out of the bottom of that funnel.
Okay, excellent points. And Erik, just as a quick follow-up, have you seen that escalate significantly over the last 12 months in terms of the cost to acquire a customer? And is because I've seen studies on this as well, where close rates have decreased significantly. Pipelines dropped 47%, specifically in B2B. So anything that you're seeing on your end before we jump to Mihir?
Yeah, it's exponentially more expensive. And I think everybody on the call right now probably is thinking about, okay, how can ABM actually help me impact this more effectively? And I do believe that the focused ABM strategy is a path to better unit economics. I really do. It's just a matter of, if you're making a switch from scorching the earth, right, of this kind of overall, I'm just going to sell to everybody and it's just going to happen because my product has product market fit, to I'm going to pull back from that and focus on this certain area, the cost to acquire that business tends to be a little bit higher because maybe you're more focused or you have a team that's much larger that was trying to sell to everybody, but now you have this team. So, that's when the hard decisions of having to, having to do some layoffs or refocusing your resources and really getting tight around what your strategy is. That tends to be what happens, but that doesn't happen overnight. Like you can't just flip the switch from, I have this massive top of the funnel outbound, and because those close rates went from 40% to 20%. Everyone's seeing that. It's not just, us. So really you have to figure out if my average order size is not increasing, then and I just lost half of my close ratio, then ultimately I have to get my price up. And that's why everyone's like, we're selling to the enterprise now, because that's just the natural fit of that. But I still think there's massive value in the SMB and the mid-market. It's just a matter of how do you get those unit economics to work when you have that kind of varying close rate and that average order size. So a lot of companies are making that work, and they're kind of doing more of a PLG motion, like product first motion, and then they have a lower cost to acquire that customer. But the outbound sales teams, which is very much an ABM strategy, are still seeing very elevated unit economics, which ultimately we do need to figure out how to bring those down. And I do think that measurement and understanding how to do the ABM strategy correctly will get us there. And that's where our big bet is right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I've seen that as well, across, dozens of SaaS companies that I've worked with. Even though a company might have a horizontal solution, I'll see that 70 to 80% of the revenues across 3 verticals, right? So really, really strong point on that. Mihir, what's your thoughts, man? What are the top 3 that you would focus on?
Yeah, I think, just building on Erik's point on unit economics, it's really important to look at 2 aspects of unit economics. And I love the way you framed the question about this is a customer-centric approach. And the word customer means it's not just a prospect, but also an existing customer. So I encourage us to all think about a customer-centric approach to have 2 sides of the coin. One is before they become a customer, the data point that is really relevant is what we call sales efficiency as a metric for unit economics. So if we've done all the things that I talked about earlier, built a good account list off of the right ICP, look for intent signals, it should show up with an efficient sales organization where the ratio of new ARR divided by your sales and marketing expense, which is how we track sales efficiency, is in a very healthy place. And that's, of course, relevant to SaaS businesses, but you can apply a similar lens to other businesses as well. So sales efficiency then tells us if we are on the right track in yielding the benefits of a targeted approach. The flip side is also similar, which is on the existing customer side, you have service efficiency, which is how many account managers and CSMs are we helping customers through, and is it getting the same efficiency in unit economics? And then the last data point, since you asked for 3, is that all of this comes together when you look at your net dollar retention. Again, we are a SaaS business, as are many listeners on this call who may have SaaS businesses. Net dollar retention matters a lot. And so you look at an annualized basis over multiple quarters, either trailing or forward looking, and then you measure your net dollar retention. That's how you bring all aspects of your business together. So to me, those are the 3 key data points.
Love that. Sales efficiency, customer efficiency, and NDR. So are there certain KPIs that you target or strive for specifically as it relates to those? I mean, I've seen world-class organizations like Snowflake hit 180% NDR. But what's your thoughts on those metrics?
Well, I think, first of all, it's like Erik was saying, we have to be cognizant of the market that you're in, right? And there are various different benchmarks for net dollar retention on whether you're serving smaller businesses or mid-market businesses or enterprise. I think the key thing is that for each of these, a good range may be what is relevant to that. So like you mentioned, Snowflake, serving larger companies, net dollar retention above 120% is a really good one. In the mid-market, anywhere around like 95, 100%, that might be a good one, and so on and so forth. So I think that's, again, like relevant to the market segment that you're in. And then for sales efficiency, we target any ratio close to 1 or higher. So if you're going to be spending $1 to acquire a customer, you need around $1 or more for new ARR that is generated from that customer.
Love that.
Yeah, that is, I mean, that's a best in class metric too. I think also this depends upon where you're at from a stage of company too. A lot of times those, let's call them Series A to seed companies, you're looking at spending more like $2 or $2.50 to get that $1 revenue. And that's okay when you're like starting, because you're trying to figure out, hey, what does that motion look like? And eventually, if you have that upgrade motion, you'll start to see your NRR build and ultimately grow. But really, like, I think the best in class you can get to is like spending $1.50 to get $1. If you're at that $1 range, I mean, that's a massive opportunity there to really dump gasoline on that fire. And I also think, it was a great point around the sales efficiency side of things too, where you have to talk about segmentation and actually reporting on segmentation. So it's really easy to, like, as CEOs, be like, hey, this is our NRR, and this is our customer retention, and this is our, customer or sales efficiency, and this is, to quota, and everyone hitting their targets, and blah, blah. You report on all these KPIs of the business, but ultimately, what does that look like in the segments that you're serving? And and then you have to make decisions, especially now, around, hey, if the unit economics in these three segments of business, let's just call them SMB, mid-market, and enterprise, if you're seeing that a certain segment is not producing the unit economics that you need in order, and it's pulling down everything else, you have to make hard decisions around, man, do I want to serve this customer right now? That doesn't mean that you don't have to serve them forever. It's just that if money is tight, market is tight, conditions are rough, people have less budget, asking them to do more with less or equal, then you look at that and you go, okay, maybe I can stop doing this for right now and focus on really where those unit economics make more sense. And so don't just look at the whole pie of the efficiency metrics, look at the segmented unit economics and then make decisions based upon those.
Love that. All right. So great points, gentlemen. So let's move on to the next step. So how does the strong data foundation enable marketing and sales to systemize offline engagement and target high quality prospects effectively?
Let me
why don't you start?
Yeah, so I think just again relevant to what we were talking about before, there's a thread of efficiency which in this case also applies, which is around reducing waste. So I think the main part is that by tightening sales and marketing activities much more closely together, your customer acquisition cost is now not wasted, right? Not wasted on non-fit, not ready accounts and buyers. So that's one way to really optimize your customer acquisition cost, by reducing waste. And a strong data foundation allows that to be clarified between sales and marketing activities working together. The other one that I also track and encourage people to look at is solving for signal to noise ratio. And what I mean by that is that you want to make sure that if I'm an SDR, for example, I'm providing enough context to the SDR so that they are they are very careful about personalizing the outreach to the prospect such that it maximizes the response rate from the prospect. And you do that when you know exactly what the preceding activities have happened in an account or in the buyer to the account, so that we are able to really provide a concise message and reduce the signal to noise ratio.
Love that.
I'm actually going to continue following up on that. I'll just put out that because I agree with that 100%. I also think that like the big enemy right now is waste. Like all of us are just looking at, hey, how do we reduce like the waste of capital that's happening throughout our businesses? And before, when money was practically free, and we're all building these massive technology companies and growing super fast and just kind of like being free willy about it, that time you didn't need to be as efficient because your growth would kind of sell your way out of that. That's not the case anymore. That is like, you're not getting the freebies anymore. So in that case, when you have to switch your thinking around from that growth at all costs to now efficiency at all costs. And so when you look at that efficiency and reducing waste, marketing teams, I think, are, because they hold the biggest budget, they really are kind of in this really tough spot, because everyone is saying, hey, the marketing org needs to spend less, but still we need to build this business and this ICP. And so how do you do that? How do you go about that? And we've all built these systems and all these processes that potentially are suited for high amounts of capital and more cost to acquire those customers. So if you're having to switch that around, you really have to be prescriptive around the measurement of your channels and the measurement of what are going to those ICPs that you're not addressing anymore or moving away from, because those are still costing you money that are coming in the door. They're not just going to be all organic. So the thing that I love about ABM, and really it's just ABM, targeted accounts, account-based sales, just call it just the ABM is like the target accounts you want to target. At Postal, we have 1,000 customers that we have targeted. That is our list. Everything we do is around that list of that targeted customers. And there's a reason. Every single quarter we go through, look at that list, we check them off, like, okay, we got these, who didn't we get? But who is engaged, right? Who is engaged within that list of customers? And with all of the technology out there that allows you to get lists of people that work at those organizations that you can target with your systems of action from all your channels and get signal from your intent databases, and then not having to do general ads anymore, actually targeted advertisements, that all is a strategy to reduce waste, but it also is a strategy to absolutely fill your bucket of your target customers at a cheaper cost. And the more efficient you get at that, and the more tightly connected your sales and marketing team is around that targeted list and ensuring that you're servicing those customers. And then additionally, I haven't been talking much about the ABM on existing customers, but there is a kind of that pull through on existing customers too, of building that revenue. But it should happen if you've understood these are my target customers and these are the ones that upgrade. then I can focus on those. And it's just kind of a natural progression as long as you're onboarding and setting them up for success that they're going to upgrade. So really, we've been focusing specifically on top of the funnel. Like, what does that funnel look like? And is that funnel being targeted and successful around these targeted lists of accounts?
Excellent. Great points on both sides. So we have about 6 minutes. So let's try and do maybe a speed round and ideally knock out 2 more questions. Maybe we could just knock out 1, but depends on it. So what would you say, and Eric, we'll start with you. What would you say are some of your favorite examples of companies that have successfully built customer-obsessed, data-driven marketing organizations? And then how can we learn from them? And include like what kinds of approaches they've had and if you've actually infused them in your business.
Yeah, so I think HubSpot is a great example. So when you look at HubSpot and the community that they've built and the templates and the education around their businesses and the raving fans that they've built in that community, I think that they've done an absolutely fantastic job. And they are very much a product-led organization. I mean, you look at that company and everything that Dharmesh does around that business is like, it is product-centric. And they've got an amazing product team over there. And they have amazing salespeople and marketers as well. But they really set that foundation of this is how you do it. This is most effective. And then they build new solutions to their customers' needs. The thing that they did very unique was buy the hustle. So when you look at actually buying communities to infuse those communities into these businesses, it's really interesting because you're creating more of a community aspect of these of your product and getting that feedback loop coming into your sales and your marketing team, and then eventually your product team. So I think that's a great example.
Great reference, Mihir.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Snowflake. I think they have what they've done is taken a very targeted approach, and as you can see, some of the theme that I'm really a fan of is having targeted go-to-market activities. And what Snowflake does really well is customize their account-based messages for each individual account that they're going after. And they do a really good job to maximize the response rate from those accounts. Snowflake also does a tremendous job of what I would call drinking your own champagne. They use their own product. Their Snowflake Data Marketplace is an amazing product that they work with other vendors as well. And so, we really love the similar themes of using your own platform. We use our own platform internally as well. We also focus on very targeted approaches. And then the other company that I'm a big fan of also is Trustpilot. They are much more present in Europe, but they have applied technology now to have market expansion beyond Europe and into North America. They run geo-specific approaches, very targeted geo-specific campaigns that gives them presence in North America as well. So when we think about market expansion, that's a lot of good learning to follow.
Really great examples on both sides. I can talk about each of those for about a half-hour piece, but we don't have enough time, so I won't. So last question for each of you, and this will be a real quick one because we got about 2.5 minutes. So, and then we'll switch it over to Q&A. B2B pipeline has dropped close to 40% in 2022 versus 21, right? As a whole, when you look at B2B SaaS taken from some of the studies, and I think it was just taken from over 280 different companies. So what are the top 3 ways you would reverse the trend in 23? And Mihir, we'll start with you. And like I said, we got about a minute apiece for each of you. So
yeah, I'll go very quickly. I think the first one I would do is like what Erik was talking about before, increase your average contract value by making sure that you're going after the right customers that can increase the value of every deal that we're bringing in. The second is increasing conversion rate through better quality of the prospects and the accounts that we're bringing in. Again, all of these are outcomes of what you can get from a good targeted approach. And the last one is expansion of TAM. Your total available market is bigger than you might think. So let's look at all the attributes of the expansion and you'll find some gems in there.
Love that. Great job. Keep it in a timely basis. Erik, you're up, man. Speed round.
Yeah, no, I'll keep it short. So mine is people, process, and technology. And I think it always comes back to those 3 things. You just go, hey, do I have the best people in place to be telling the story? Are they the most bought in? Are they are they their culture kings and queens? Are they able to really take what you're building and tell the right story and from a value proposition and create value for your prospects and customers. Then from a process standpoint, we have to be looking at all the different processes that we have within these businesses to ensure that they're aligned to whatever new goals that you have. Old processes do not work with new goals. You have to reiterate and figure out how to systemize those a lot of those manual processes and ensure that you're creating data repositories to understand what processes are working. And the final one is technology. I think that as technology advances and we see the advent of all this new artificial intelligence and contact engagement software that's going to be coming into the market, you really have to understand what do you need to be investing in from a system of record standpoint, from a system of intelligence standpoint, and a system of action standpoint to ensure that you have the best technology stack in place to serve the customer of the future. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're focused on.
Great job. You guys kept it under time and you crushed it with the answers. So well done. Well done. So we are now on to the Q&A section. We got about 10 minutes wrapped for that. Drop any questions you have in the chat. I already have some dialed up. So let's see here. How about, why don't we start with the first one? So, and what we'll try and do is we got about 10 minutes for this. So if we could answer these kind of rapid fire, that'd be good. We got about 6 already in the queue. So let's talk about the first one. Okay, so sales and marketing teams are often misaligned on the data that informs their strategies. They're either using different sources of truth or looking at different KPIs. What tips do you have for teams to get on the same page? Who wants to handle this one? Maybe we switch the questions.
Yeah, no, I would love to talk about this because this is something this is happened in every single company. It's like you have your marketing, you have your product, and then you have your sales team. And everybody at some point in time has their own metrics that they're measuring on some system in your existing company, or they're measuring it differently. This is a leadership problem. This is your CEO that needs to be ensured that he is or she is delivering the metrics for each one of these businesses and has one data analyst or data scientist that can report that back. You shouldn't have the reporting KPIs be done in silos. It should be a company strategy.
Excellent.
In my opinion.
No, I think that's a great feedback. So Mihir, why don't we just ping pong and then you can get the next question if that's cool, because it's right up your alley with data. So, so with the economic challenges over the past few months, and you've seen a shift, have you seen companies seen a shift in which data is most relevant to informing your strategy? And like, for example, do you look at different KPIs now versus 3 to 6 months ago?
Yeah, for sure. As we talked about before, there's more of an emphasis on looking at efficiency metrics and unit economics. So looking at, for example, if you're looking at your pipeline creation, you're looking at cost per appointment that an SDR is setting, or cost per opportunity created by your marketing team, which are all like nuances and categories of your customer acquisition cost, which of course you can track at an aggregate level. But as Erik was saying, the insights will come when you look at subcategories inside and then see what the story is. Maybe you will reallocate some of your demand gen investment from one category to another, and so on. So I think looking at various aspects of your cost structure in addition to your pipeline closing and pipeline creation allows you to find more ways to have clearer decisions to optimize the business.
Good point. Okay, so we are hitting the home stretch. Kristen, I see you have a couple questions about the study that I mentioned. It was between Pavilion and EBSTA. I believe it's EBSTA. And it was B2B. It was a B2B sales, I think it was a study. So that just came out a few months ago. So if you Google that, you should be able to find it. The name of the exact study is escaping me, but that should get you where you need to. And it's EB, I think it's STA. So, all right, next question. From a non-SaaS company perspective, what are the differences since they have a large mix of product and customer type? They have target customers, but they still prospect other companies that they run into as they go. So this is a question from Will. Will, any guidance for Will in terms of focus or being a little bit more deliberate with a different organization like that outside of SaaS?
Yeah, I would say, I think, SaaS or otherwise, if you really understand, if you have some existing customers and you've built like a sense of what the profile is for these existing customers, you can then use technology to understand even inbound demand, right? So let's say somebody's coming to your website, then you can map, okay, which account is it? Which buyer is this that's coming onto the website? Are they a good fit for me, based on what I'm already seeing? And it doesn't really matter whether you're in a SaaS business or otherwise. That discipline is helpful in any scenario. And so I think that can then complement and help you refine your target account list as well. And so if you take that and then combine that with an intent source, that again is regardless of whether you're in a SaaS business or otherwise, it'll help you understand which customers are in market for your products and services.
Excellent.
Yeah, this is a segmenting exercise here. I think that if you have a large, and it doesn't matter what type of business you are, and I think what we've talked about today actually is not just SaaS related. This is very much any business should be taking these strategies and implementing them. But when you look at the actual, like your question, really what it comes down to is you just have segments of product and you have segments of target customers, and you're willing to introduce and sell new customers in these new segments. The real question is if you don't have the data and these categories segmented out, then you're really not understanding if the time and money you're spending, because if let's say that you lose 60% of the deals that you have, then that 60% is still going, that cost is still inefficiency cost going to that segment. A great example real quick is Workday. When Workday came on the market, they said, we are only selling to these 100 accounts. That was it. And they didn't sell it to anybody. You still can't buy Workday unless you're a $50 million plus organization. So they've kept their ICP so tight to where they're not even willing to go outside and experiment in other categories. I don't think that's best for all businesses, especially those with lower ACVs and there's more flexibility there. But ultimately, this is a segment strategy that you should be using.
Yeah, I firmly agree with what Eric's talking about, because like I've seen this, and it's not just deal size that'll help you, but it's speed, right? You'll have speed to close, and there's almost like a ceiling floor combo that you have where there's a sweet spot where you're better off than the competition, but at the same time, it's a really, really good profitable deal for your company as well. So
or on the converse, maybe it's a very speedy deal that didn't cost a lot of money to get, but they churn 50% of the time. So it's you have to look at the full entire life cycle of your customer to really understand. Like, it might be great for your top of the funnel and your unit economics up front, but then they're going to churn 50% of the time. So you need to make a decision around that.
Really, really great distinction. That aligns with what Mihir was talking about with LTV earlier. So next question: how can marketers best validate their budgets in the shaky economy? It's a good one. Who wants to tackle that one?
I think
I'll start. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Erik.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'll be very brief on this. I mean, CFOs and the financial team are very much involved in all the actions of marketers right now. We see that even in our buying cycles. Like when people are purchasing Postal to say, hey, I've got all this money that I spend on this thing, on all this stuff. My CFO really wants us to understand what this stuff is doing, right? So what is this spend actually creating from a revenue standpoint? And I think that all comes back to validation of ROI. And your vendors, to Natalie, your vendors should help you with calculators to help you understand how to validate their own software and the spend that you have. So I would absolutely be leaning on your vendors to say, hey, I need to validate why I'm spending money with you. There is a lot of effort from leadership to put in place the clear transparency of how we impact your company positively, and your vendors should be doing that for you. So I would say lean on your vendors.
Excellent. And Mihir, we got one last question. So do you want to take this last one instead of piling on that one? Is that cool? Because then we'll touch them all. So and this is related to ABM. Is outbound, or I should say, are outbound sales calls still valuable with ABM? And when is the best time of funnel to do it, instead of before in market, or is it critical more near the bottom before calls are made? What's your feedback on that?
Yeah, I would say absolutely outbound sales should be part of the a set of tools for sales and marketing teams. I think one way to think about this is also to say that there's an obvious, right? If accounts are unaware, then it really doesn't have that much impact. But when we think about like stages in the funnel, at the risk of just coming across as promoting our platform, there are ways that you can use technology with account-based platforms to customize the stages of your funnel. And then you could say, for example, and this is really what we do as well, you could say, are there prospects that are searching for competitive keywords? They're searching for our competitors on sites like G2. Now that is a signal that could infer that this prospect is in, let's say, stage 2 of the journey, and you've customized what stage 2 is for you. Then you can have a sales rep call them and say, okay, this is the buyer in this company. Are you researching an account-based platform? What's going on? Let me talk to you about our strengths and so on and so forth. So I think using that data and that information to customize when to call and what script to use when you call can leverage all the information that you can get from technology.
Excellent. Erik, did you have anything you wanted to add to that as well?
Yeah, calls and voicemails are touch points. Let's not forget about that. I know everyone's saying, I don't want to make phone calls anymore. No one picks up the phone. It doesn't matter. That is a touch point. So when you think about your overall engagement strategy, you have to have outbound. You have to have outbound calls. And so those touch points, you really have to understand in an outbound model, are you using those touch points in a non-intent touch point or an intent touch point? And so there are different companies that do it very well. Maybe they'll start with the voicemail, they'll start with their SDR engine with targeted accounts, and then going and then relying on marketing to provide air cover on that outbound. And then all of a sudden they have intent, and now they're making intent outbound calls. But really at the end of the day, you should try to understand how many touch points it takes to create an opportunity. And I would encourage you that voicemail, let's just call it voicemail because they're not phone calls anymore. Voicemails are a very significant touch point when you think about it. As long as you're delivering value in that voicemail, I think it cuts through. So that's my take on that.
Great points on both ends. And pro tip: the voicemail option for LinkedIn direct messages is a great strategy as well. Super simple and easy, and you can knock out like 20 of them in 10 minutes, if that. So. Gentlemen, any parting thoughts, Erik and Mihir, just because we're up on time now. So any parting thoughts to wrap things up?
I would say just one thing, which is that, in today's world, what we're seeing is a lot of promise and also some anxiety about technology. When people talk about, AI and what's possible, and generative AI seeing a lot of promise. If you zoom out of all of this a little bit and think about account-based platforms and technology and how this can help, my encouragement for everyone is to think about this from a glass half full standpoint and from an optimistic standpoint. I'm an optimist about technology. There's a lot of potential for us to help our customers get better outcomes, help our customers make more revenue, and then we will have better outcomes for ourselves and our employees as well. So be optimists about technology is only the last message that I would give.
Excellent. Erik?
I'll just go and say it, embrace the suck, embrace this period of time. This is a very different time that I think all of us have been involved with. And many of you have not sold through recessions and, been through, what we went through in 2001 and September 11th. So I would just say that, these periods of time happen, and just embrace it and understand that what you're doing today is probably not what you did yesterday, and just embrace the fact that we're all learning together and driving value for our customers and ultimately driving value for our communities and our families and our friends. So enjoy the time and be happy.
Excellent. Well, love having, actually love the opportunity to interview both of you. This was a blast. So Mihir and Erik, appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for having me on and let me interview you. And thank you for attending as well. If you're watching this, whether it's live or recorded, to Account-Based Marketing on Fire, really, really appreciate you. And thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.